Hi, my name is Jayoza, and I'm going to talk about reading. One of the things you always see when the new year gets started is that people make their reading resolution. And one of the things I've just noticed is that people put down how many books they want to read. Something like, this year I'm going to read 50 books. And somebody says, well, this year I'm going to read 100 books. I don't do that. Because to me, reading is not about volume or the number of books you read. Reading is about gaining insight. I read to think, not read just words and boom, just disappears. So volume is not that important to me. Though I do read a lot, but I don't even keep a count on it. So in this talk, I'm going to tell you how I read. And then I'll tell you what I plan to do this year, which is kind of taking something that I've done in the past to the next level. Okay, so the best way to do this is to kind of tell you the book that I'm reading right now. I'm reading Amy Cuddy's book that she's just come out with called Presence. This is sort of based on the famous TED talk she gave about, you fake it till you become it. That was the main tagline from that speech. And the book I think is excellent, The Presence. So typically the way I read a book is I go through a quick one pass. And this is something that it's not standard, but I'll read the first paragraph. I may read certain important things in different chapters. It'll be sequential. And on some occasion I may read the entire chapter if it looks interesting. So I want to get as much as possible to give me an idea, to gain familiarity with the book. But even before I do that, I'll read other things. I may even go to Amazon, read reviews. I may look at book reviews from New York Times. So I'm somewhat familiarizing myself with the book. And then I'll do the first pass and do my own reading. And I use Kindle usually, so I mark it up. So that's my first pass. The second pass, so the first pass takes usually at most 2 hours. Usually try to do it like this: 2 hours, maybe a little longer. I usually try to split it into either thirds, quarters, or halves, depending on the size of the book. So if the book is 400 pages, I may just say, you know what, I'm going to spend half hour and just do the 100 pages, and then find another half hour, do the next 100 pages, like that. It varies. There's no real formula that you can come up with your own formula on how to do that. So that's the first pass. The second pass will take a little longer. Here I'll go through the book from the beginning. And if there are certain sections that I think are not important, I may just skip it, or I may just read it real fast. But the ones that I have kind of marked, I'll go back and say, why did I mark it? There must have been something that caught my attention. So I'll read it more closely. Now, the second pass is much longer, by the way. This will take, depending on how interesting the book is, like the book Presence, I'm going through a second pass right now. And I will say that it'll take me, I don't know the number of hours, but I'll think it'll take me a week, probably a week to read it. So I'm not a fast reader, as you can see, because for me, reading is not about, finishing a book and saying, hey, I finished the book. It's about gaining insight. So that's the one thing I want to make very clear. This is not about contest or competition, how many books I'm going to finish. I'd rather just sometimes just read one book, but read it really well, than to read hundreds of books and gain no insight from any of those books. Okay, so that's a second pass. Takes about a week. And again, I will mark it in Kindle and even make notes in Kindle. Okay. Sometimes what I also do is I will cut certain section and put it into Evernote if I think it's something that I will plan to use later. So it's a really active reading that I'm doing here. Then comes the third pass. Now, third pass, the purpose of it is that I am now going to use the parts that I have marked up and even highlighted and use it for something. Now, in the past, I have taken bits of it and used it in blogs that I have written, and in a book that I'm currently writing. But I plan to do something different, and this is something I have done in the past that I'll talk about. But I want to take it to the next level. Okay, so I did this with this one book. I call blogging from reading. I don't know if that's the right word. What I did was I took this book by Simon Sinek called Start with Why. And I read that book, and from that book, I think I came up with, I think 5 blogs. At least 5, maybe even more, maybe 10, I'm not sure yet. So I came up with 10 blogs from that book. Now, blogging is kind of, it's time consuming, right? But I think by doing that now I can go back to this book and look at exactly the parts that really made an impact on it. It had an impact because I blogged it. These are 10 blogs that are very specific information or insight that I gained from reading that book. So that's one thing you can do if you really want to read a book well. This year I'm going to take it to the next level. And what I'm going to do with this book, Presence, is I'm going to use that for my 3:30 challenge. Now, for those who are watching this for the first time who don't know what the 3:30 challenge is, it's really simple. I will do a 3-minute talk every day for the next 30 days. Now, in my case, it may not be every day because I've already done this challenge. I may do maybe multiple ones a day. But at the end, I want to do 30 videos, short videos, that is based on some insight that I've gained from reading the book Presence. And that would be my goal. At the end of it, if I can do 30 videos, short videos from that book, I believe I can say confidently that I have read this book well. I mean, there is no other way to say this. It wouldn't be just like, hey, I read this book Presence. I can actually say, hey, by the way, I read this book Presence, and if you want to gain something from it, here are some of the videos that I've recorded from that. I mean, come on, who does that? So this is something that I want to do this year. Rather than reading lots and lots of books, which I do, I want to pick certain books, maybe one a month, maybe one a month sounds about right, and do a 3:30 challenge for each book that I'm reading. And if I can do that, then I can confidently say that I have read that book well. Of course, this is going to be time consuming, but if a book is good, you really do have to spend that kind of time because it's the insight. That's what I'm looking for. So try this. See if this works. Rather than reading lots of books, I would say focus on one book. You can either blog, maybe 10 blogs you can try to write from the book, or you can do what I'm planning to do this year, is to do a 3:30 challenge for a book that I'm reading for 1 month. And if this works well, then I would like to make this into a practice for one book at least a month, maybe one a quarter, but at least select maybe 4 or 5 books a year where I want to do a 3:30 challenge on it, so I can say that I have read this book well with proof. So let me know what you think of this. And what are you doing to read a book well? Are you just reading? Are you a volume reader, or are you more interested in being a well-read person? Okay. So thank you for watching, and let me know what you think. Thank you.